Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to my dungeon.
Welcome to Kuldrin's Krypt. I'm your host, Master Kuldrin. If you're new to the show, I use my 24 years of BDSM experience and 20 years working in the psychology field to dispel myths, get rid of stereotypes, and answer your questions about BDSM. You can call in at 865-268-4005 to leave your questions or visit the Krypt at kuldrinskrypt.com. On this episode of the Krypt, we're returning to DomCon LA 2019 for an interview with world-famous Professional Domme Hudsy Hawn. She has been on Buzzfeed's The Try Guys, Try 50 Shades style BDSM, ETV special The Real 50 Shades of Grey, and several other shows, including A&E's Storage Wars. That's an interesting one. So let's hit those rules to love by and jump into the conversation. Then stay tuned afterwards for a recap and some additional information. Rules to love by. Rule number 1, safe, sane, consensual, and informed. Rule number 2, kinky, that is KNKI, and comes from the Kinky dating app available on all platforms. Not a sponsor of the show, but it does stand for knowledge, no intolerance, kindness, and integrity. And rule number 3, the quote from Mr. Paul Young. Submission is not about authority, and it's not about obedience. It is all about relationships of love and respect. And we are here at DomCon Los Angeles 2019. It is Sunday, the last day of the con, Mother's Day for this year. And I have the amazing, the beautiful Hudsy Hawn with me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sitting down to chat.
Sure.
Now, you have a very interesting, scary intro to the lifestyle.
I do.
That it's one of the things that people contact me about with being a 101 is BDSM nightmares.
Yeah.
And it sounds as though that would be it. Share that with us.
Well, you know, and when you're first starting out, you don't realize it's scary when you have no idea what to do or what's the right or wrong way. Mm-hmm. Basically, I went on Craigslist in the middle of the night like a crazy person, a little bit of my own doing for sure. And then I drove over to a guy's house thinking I was going to get lucky. And it turns out he was a male dom. And so there was never a consent discussion. There was never any kind of negotiation or communication on anything. But because of where I was at in my life, going through a divorce, it was working for me. And I don't regret it because if I hadn't met him, I wouldn't be sitting here at DomCon today. But it was definitely gone about the wrong way. And after I met him, I got out of it quickly and started reading books like SM-101, going to Passive Arts, which is now Sanctuary LAX, and meeting like-minded people who gave me a lot of advice on how to do this safely and the right way. And I ended up meeting doms after him that were more in the lifestyle, more knowledgeable, and better suited to me.
Now, you are also an artist.
I am. Well, a singer.
A singer.
Yes,
well,
not a painter.
I consider that definitely an art. I'm a musician.
Right. Okay. What do you play?
Everything.
Oh, wow. Good.
But I don't play anything well. It's more of a hobby musician. Definitely not a professional one. No, piano, guitar.
That's great.
Saxophone, trumpet.
I should have stuck with my piano lessons as a child.
Yeah.
I should have had a dom to keep me in line back then.
I just had a mother. So you also do a lot of work, it sounds like, for benefits for the breast cancer?
Yeah. On my vanilla side, I work in a band where we do a lot of different public events. And last night we happened to do a breast cancer fundraiser, which is why I couldn't go to the party with y'all. So I did that, and then I came here today just to get everybody one last visit before it's over.
I just bring that up. I know it seems random, jumping from one thing to another, but to show that because a lot of people ask about life balance and they want to dive headfirst into this. And in the parachuting world, skydiving world, you know, we call it cutting away,
right?
And where your real life just disappears, but you very much have both sides of the coin there.
Well, it took some time. I've been doing this 15 years, and there was periods where there was 80% kink, 20% vanilla. And at one point, you know, you finally burn out where you need the balance back. So I had my Disneyland career for 20 plus years where I was singing at the park, and then I had my kinky after hours thing. And then everybody started to know both sides. Like, my real name is Brooke, and everything just started blurring together. And I eventually took Brooke and Hudsy and squished them together into a memoir musical and just totally outed myself. And it felt really good because it does feel a little bit, I don't know if you would agree, like a split personality disorder sometimes where you've got these two personas, and why can't they be one as long as you're getting consent with the people that you're sharing it with? I mean, there was a story about a guy who took his submissive to the mall and walked her around with a leash. And why can't we do that? And I remember thinking, and I'm very liberal, but I remember thinking, well, you couldn't have gotten consent of the whole mall to watch that scene,
right?
You know, so that's where I draw the line. It's like you really do have to have consent. But if I tell friends in my vanilla life about what I'm doing and they're interested, then I'll share it with them. You know, but that definitely keeps the balance.
A friend of mine just went to a big conference. She works in the psych field for the state of Georgia, and one of the schools finally did a study on suicide in the lifestyle, specifically with BDSM, and they showed that the statistics for depression and suicide within the BDSM world, surprisingly, was equal to that of the transgender community, in that it was around 40%.
Wow.
And they are believing that comes from the split personality. However, with the work that the NCSF, the National Coalition for Sexual Freedom, has done with trying to destigmatize and get BDSM taken out of the DSM-5 as a diagnosable mental illness, that is going to greatly help reduce that.
Wow, that's great.
So with that split personality, it definitely can come into play. I see how.
Yeah, I remember when I did my memoir last year, and I made a flyer that said Brooke is Hudsy in the Vanilla Life, and it was, or from Vanilla to Kink, and I remember just tagging both people on Facebook and just being like, oh, you know, and slowly my family started to ask my mother, but it was relieving to not have such a big secret anymore.
So your mother was aware?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I told her pretty much right away 15 years ago, and it was really hard on her for a while. But when she saw the show, because here's the through line on the whole thing. You know, I believe that we're all kinky for different reasons. There's no one reason. There's no right or wrong. Sometimes it's a childhood thing. Sometimes it's just something sexy we like. And when my father died a few years ago, I realized why I was into BDSM. I was never wronged or, you know, mistreated by my father. It was more about not being close to him. And then I realized, oh, daddy dom little girl, being a little female submissive. Now I get it. And starting so late in life in BDSM, it didn't matter what age I was. That little girl still wanted that male role to come in and do that healing. So once my dad died, I went, oh, and that was how my show came about. So when my mom saw it, it wasn't a show about kink. It was a show about a relationship and what was missing and what was needed, and how kink just became that way to get it in there, you know? So we've all got our reason, and that's why I feel like if we come out more, we can help people understand, you know, what this does for us, how it's very therapeutic, how it's very healing, how, and everybody's got something if you dig deep enough.
Yes. Well, that's one of the things that people, when they find out what I do, they add, you know, it's like, oh, that crazy kink stuff. I'm like, have you ever pulled somebody's hair, had your hair pulled? Have you ever spanked somebody?
Way. Yeah.
Yeah. Or have you ever spanked somebody during sex or been spanked? Have you ever scratched somebody? You
ever talk dirty?
And then they start turning red.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Any dirty talk. It's like, you're a kinkster.
Yep.
Just like everybody else. It's just a matter of degrees and experience and education.
And understanding the vocabulary of what you're doing.
Yeah, very much so. So now, you are a bit of an enigma in the world at DomCon, and I consider it a very beautiful thing. And I will briefly explain that. All of the doms, because you're also a professional dominatrix,
right.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody that I've asked about any form of submission that has carried a business card as a professional dominatrix is absolutely no. And then a few after the recording has ended is, well, in my personal life,
right? But they don't want to say that. Yeah.
I may occasionally submit, and you're just like wearing it right there on Front Street.
Now, I am a service top. Let's not mistake it. I'm not a lifestyle dom. I'm a service top, and I'm a really good nurturing mommy dom, right? Okay. But I have a submissive's heart. It was where it started. I just told you my kryptonite of my dad. So it's kind of like I'm really, really good at being a top because I understand the submissive role and the bottom role very well.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of doms will disagree with me, but the best tops were once very experienced bottoms. Doesn't mean they had to be submissive, but how can you really totally know what you're asking of a client or a partner if you haven't explored it a little bit?
Yeah.
You know, just to get the mindset. So I am very proud to say that I have a submissive's heart and I'm a lifestyle switch. And if I'm always catering to the person that I'm with, that means I'm submissive, doesn't it? Well, what role would you like to do? Okay, well, I'll be a switch. Like, you're a submissive, you know, but I am not a pushover, you know, and the hard part about submitting now, being in my 40s, is that another thing most doms won't admit, I'm in my 40s. And one of the things that's really hard about submitting is that because of all the training I've had, 9 times out of 10, the partner I'm playing with does something that I realize they did unsafely or incorrectly, and that can pull me out of the headspace. So they have to make up for it in emotional and mental talent, you know?
Yeah, that does tend to be a problem. I started out as a switch. And in 95, quickly realized within the first 3 or 4 years that was just not my personality.
Yeah.
But anytime I'm trying a new toy, a new method of doing something, I still prefer to, one, I'm going to experience it first.
Right.
And two, if it's a method or a psychology behind something, I'm really going to do the due diligence and the research and try to make sure. Now, they say those who can't do teach.
Right.
Which, yes, as far as high school, I had some of those. College, I had some of those. But when it comes to what I do here, it is easier said than done.
Yeah, and it's not like we have to tell everybody if we don't want to. Like you were saying, some people won't admit it online, but I mean, I just feel like it can only help my partner feel more comfortable.
Yes.
You know. So I'm glad you're a switch. That's great. Or that you were a switch.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Now, I mean, the funny thing is I've been promising my listeners now for about 4 months, 6 months, that I am going to live as a submissive for 30 days.
Ooh,
and
30-day challenge.
And I haven't found the right person for that role yet. So,
like 24/7?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to read the blog on that when you're done. Please. Video diary at the end of each day.
I keep running into my own roadblock, though.
But let me ask you this: would you have time off of work? Would you be like submitting at work, like texting
I would play the games at work.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would play the.
Oh, please let me know
work.
when that happens.
As soon as I find the right person, and I don't do long distance, so that's
no, it's not quite as impactful, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of need the dynamic first, and then they can be out of town.
Yeah, finding someone that doesn't want to shove something up an orifice, that is.
But if you did that and you were to do like a video or audio diary each day, I think it would give, especially a lot of men, a lot of confidence to explore it, because I think a lot of men want to, but they are worried about the stigma.
Yeah.
And getting found out, right? So someone like you who's just out and proud about it and to say, I'm going to try this experiment, like that would be very inspiring. You'd probably change lives.
And it's been so long. It's, you get to a point where you're talking to newbies or even just trying to think back to certain events in your life. And it's like, I really have forgotten more about this than what most people, coming into it will learn in the first 5 years.
Right.
And that sounds like a very arrogant attitude, but after so many experiences and thousands of hours of play and education. So, it's, if you ever decide to come to the Knoxville area for a month, maybe.
We might just go back and forth like tennis, switch. What do you want? No, what do you want? What do you want? Yeah. Hit me with that. Oh, I don't know. I don't want to hurt you.
No. Do a 30-day or 60-day term.
Right.
I'll have to go first, though.
Right. Yeah. I always have to start as top and then submit, or I can't go the other way around.
Yeah.
But did you ever read that book, Exit to Eden?
I didn't read the book.
You saw the movie.
I did see the movie.
Yeah.
I know there's I have a friend that he just loves constantly. Like every time I talk to him, which is 2 hours a day, he talks about this book. So
the books are better. Yeah. But there's a whole great thing about the slaves going to the island and, that's a great fantasy.
Because he swears he is the character.
Oh, the main guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Edward or something like that. Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
He's like, that's what I want to be. Because his family owns an island down in the Bahamas.
Well, he needs to make it happen.
He's a pilot. So he's,
oh my God.
He's like, yeah, I'm going to do this getaway. And like, cool. Yeah, just let me know. I'll help.
Yeah, perfect.
So other than your initial entry into this world, where it was a complete accident.
It was an accident.
And there's a lot more, I'm sure, that went into that night than what we've discussed. But what other kind of pieces of advice, warnings do you tend to give people?
Yeah, I think if it's too good to be true, it is. And I think anyone who demands that you do something right after an interview or a negotiation is someone to run from. I think that people rush into exploring with someone because they're so excited to be seen and be the object of affection, and it's just very dangerous. And the top or dom who takes their time and less is more philosophy and really wants to get to know what you're looking to gain is the person to spend some time with. And I think there's a sub frenzy, we all know that happens, and a dom frenzy that can happen. So I think taking time to get to know someone is very important. And in the same instance, when I flip it that I've been a pro dom, it's having a dom that doesn't have a gazillion projects on their table, especially if you're new and you need some help and you need some focus. And I talk about this on my website. I have a blog page, and I talk about anyone new, whether they're top or bottom, should do what I call the kinky trinity, which is reading books, going to events, and going to classes. And the last two, you'll meet like-minded people. The books are just good things just to get your brain thinking that way again about study. And then going out and getting out of your bubble is how you're going to meet great people. And you're going to meet bad people, but at least you're going to be able to tell the difference. But hiding in your computer and not making friends, and this is about friends and getting like community like we're having right now. Right. And people don't need to just shack up with the first person they meet. They should make friends. They should go to munches. They should figure out what their top 3 favorite things are and find those classes. And that's my best advice. And to not rush. There's no reason to rush.
When was your last frenzy?
Oh, gosh. Well, probably in 2005 when I met that guy on Craigslist. I would go back and forth to his house several times a week and do whatever he said. And it was that feeling of, okay, today's the day I'm going to graduate. Today's the day something. And I didn't know that meant a caller. I just felt like I was going to be the girl, And of course, it never happened. And I ended up teaching another guy on Craigslist how to be my dom. Just put out an ad and found my own like diamond in the rough, but that sub frenzy where you can't focus, you're basically like just thinking about them 24/7. You're not sleeping. Mm-hmm. It's not a good thing. No, but it's an equivalent to the first time you try crack.
It's like you said, it does cause you to rush head first into things without really doing your due diligence.
Because we're all really looking for a certain response to a kink because of an emotional need. You could say that a masochist wants the physical, but there is an emotional reason. Yeah. So we let that take hold and we're done for.
What about any frenzies over, say, new relationship energy through the years, anything? Because I find that about every, 2 years or so, I find myself like re-energized and amped up, and I'm just go. And
on an NRE, like a new relationship energy?
Sometimes. And it may be a relationship with myself where I just discover something within myself, like fire cupping. I've just recently started fire cupping her.
Nice.
And that has really, because she just, and by her crypters, I'm referring to Lady Catherine, the wife, she will just get this emotional bliss from it and completely like throw on the hoodie, pull it over her face, curl up in a little fetal position over by the cross in her playroom. And she is a very dominant person. So for that act of submission, pseudo submission, in a way, because it has nothing to do with submitting to me. It's submitting to the need to relax within herself.
Right, because if you're always top, you need that vacation away from it. But the NRE, the new relationship energy, becomes, because you've been a couple for a while, it becomes that item that you bring in.
18 years.
Oh, congratulations. That's rare. Congratulations. Yeah, so you find those little things, those little kinks or behaviors that you share that keep it interesting. And that's what everybody needs to do, you know?
Now, you said you have a blog.
I do. If people go to fromvanillatokink.com, I have Hudsy Hawn across the board. If you Google Hudsy Hawn, I have a Medium page, which is that writer's website.
Oh, nice.
And I also post everything I'm doing on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. V2K coaching is Vanilla 2 Kink coaching. It's just a way to not get flagged so much on Google AdWords.
Right.
Yeah.
V2Kcoaching.com.
Yeah, thanks for letting me talk with you.
I'm going to put a link in the show notes. So listeners, if you want to swap up, down, left, right, whichever it is in your podcatcher, the link will be right there for you to click on. I highly recommend checking it out. And I will subscribe to your RSS feed for your blog.
Thank you. I will do the same. So, I have my sticker pasties from with your logo on them.
Yeah, it's
for when I feel submissive.
I've ordered those. I got those like 2-3 years ago, and I never even thought about them working as pasties.
I know. Well, actually, I probably need a little bit bigger circles, but we'll make it work. It's for everyone to get a visual.
Oh,
Silver dollars, people. Thank you so much. Right? It's picturing it now. That's a handful of change.
Oh, it has certainly been a pleasure. Thank you so very much.
Thank you both.
A huge, huge thank you to Miss Hudsy Hawn. She was absolutely amazing. There were so many things that I wanted to get into, but as we started talking, it transformed from an interview into just a good, honest, and open conversation. Phenomenal person, and I hope that I have the opportunity to meet her again sometime. The work that she does that we've briefly mentioned for breast cancer and within the vanilla community, the advocacy that she is about, and the work that she does within the community. Check out her website. There are links to it in the show notes, or you can go to kuldrinskrypt.com/224 and get the show notes if they're not in your podcatcher. But the things that she does, the education stations that she teaches, and just the phenomenal amount of honesty and love and respect that she not just portrays, but just what oozes out of her in such a positive way. As I was sitting there speaking with her and my wife was beside me, and the laughter and the conversation, it was just absolutely phenomenal. So Hudsy, thank you so much again for speaking with me. And I was serious. If you're ever out here on the East Coast and you have the opportunity to swing by Knoxville for 30 days, I would love to try that whole submission thing with you. So anyway, I have some thank yous. Now, if you are enjoying the show, if you're getting something out of it, consider going to Patreon and becoming one of the producers. You can donate as little as $1 a month and get some extra content over there. I was posting weekly play journals. The problem is that my play has significantly slowed down. My submissive was away and I was working way too much and couldn't get out to any events for about a month or two. So she's back and I'm trying to slow some things down. So there's going to be some more play journals coming out very soon. I have 2 to record right now, so those will be posting soon. But you'll get added to the list of producers if you support us on Patreon, like Pro Producer Lily Chaos, Executive Producer Jeremiah, Arcane DGR, Violet Aurelia, Feline Rouge, Baby Love 2269, and Faisal. Senior Producer Matt, Roxy Bear, Emerald Wolf, JK, Sort Out the Kinks, Delilah, Sir Mutual Respect, and Master Gabriel. Producers Kane Sin, That Place in Oklahoma City, which is a dungeon. If you're in that area, please do visit Miter at that place. Check them out on FetLife. Don't put any space between it, just That Place without a space. Olive Eyes, Zine, and Alexandria. Junior producers K2SO, Buffalo Dom 84, Laysumi, Haley, Morgan, and a new one, Not the Daddy. Thank you so much. Also, BDSMcontracts.org. Use coupon code Kuldrin20. That's KULDRIN20. No spaces for a 20% discount on all purchases. Daycollars.com is a place for personalized handmade collars, leashes, cuffs, and belts. And of course, Whipping Stripes, my personal maker of all things leather and paracord impact toys. None of these companies offer any money to the show. These are just people that I know, like, use, and trust. Also, Torrid Timber is the last one that is added to that list. You can find links to their sites in the show notes. Next time on the Krypt, I'm not exactly sure who we're going to be talking with or if I'm doing a BDSM Nightmares episode. I'm waiting on consent to come back on a few requests that I've made from messages that I've received recently. But in the meantime, all my contact information is in the show notes, along with everything that we talked about today. This has been Master Kuldrin and Hudsy Hawn for KuldrinsKrypt.com. Unearth the truth.